Hey, welcome to FL Teams Live. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday night. You probably just watched the Rays improve to 12-0. That's why we're starting at this time a little later than normal. But obviously, we had to see the best team in baseball continue to win. I'm Jeff Macolino. With me, as always, Jeremiah Hensley, and Isaac Edelman has graced us with an appearance this week. I mean, did you, cut out a dinner with Jim Nance early and all your, all your bigwig new friends to come slum it with us?
Well, look, I mean, Jeff and Jeremiah will always be important to me. But FL Teams Live, I had to come visit y'all, especially because I'm the founder of FL Teams. But on a serious note, I haven't spoken to any of you guys since March Madness. I had a lot of fun in Houston. It was a great media experience, met some amazing people. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to more media appearances. And the fact that my first credentialed event is a huge event that
Yeah.
any media member would love to go to in March Madness. So that was really cool. But no, I'm excited for this show, man. Good stuff. This is the start of the MLB season, and then we're also getting ready for the NBA and NHL playoffs. This is, yeah, a dead part for the NFL, but you're going to start to get things going. In terms of college football, it's the spring season. Spring games are actually this weekend for a lot of teams. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
On FL Teams, Dylan Spalding came out with a new episode previewing the USF Bulls spring game. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I definitely will be doing that shortly. You mentioned the playoffs. Let's start, Isaac, kind of with your area of expertise here. The NBA playoffs getting underway. Talk us through what the schedule looks like. Obviously, the Miami Heat are alive still, right?
Yeah. No, technically they are alive. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to them because obviously this started last year. The NBA now has a play-in tournament, and the Miami Heat without the play-in tournament would have made the playoffs as a 7 seed, but due to this play-in tournament, the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seed join this play-in tournament. So the 7 seed plays the 8 seed. The Heat played the Hawks. The Heat lost to the Hawks at home last night, and so now the Heat will play the winner of the 9, 10 seed matchup, the Bulls and the Raptors, and the Bulls just won. So it will be Heat Bulls on Friday night. The winner of that will be the 8 seed in the playoffs. So that may sound confusing, but all you need to know is under this new format for the playoffs, the 9 and 10 seed gets a chance to make the playoffs. And if the Bulls, the 9 seed, beat the Heat on Friday night, the Bulls will make the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the Orlando Magic did not make the playoffs, but the other Florida team, the Miami Heat, have struggled this season. They might still make the playoffs. And again, a 7 seed's not that bad, but for Heat culture, that's pretty bad. The Heat are known to be a team that, just sits atop the East standings. But this year, the Heat have struggled. Jimmy Butler is still himself, but Tyler Hero has taken a step back. And not just Hero, Bam Adebayo, Miami's defensive anchor. And he's not the only defensive piece that stepped down. I mean, the whole defense has stepped down for the Heat. The Heat these past few months have just taken a big step back on defense, and it's led to their struggles. And their struggles haven't been that bad because they're the 7 seed, but us Heat fans are used to seeing such talent in Miami. But yeah, Jeff, Heat are still alive. Big game Friday night. It's do or die. Heat win, they make the playoffs as an 8 seed. They will face the Milwaukee Bucks. If the Heat lose, they will not make the playoffs. But on the positive side, because you always have to be looking, for the positive things. If the Heat lose, they won't be considered a playoff team because the play-in tournament is technically not a playoff game. And the Heat will have a pick in the lottery. So they can technically get the number 1 overall pick. And this year's number 1 overall pick in the NBA is so good. Victor Wembanyama from France, expected to be a legend in the making. I mean, he is a legend in the making, but he's expected to be the best player since LeBron James. So, yeah, this year we definitely saw a lot of tanking in the NBA. So, on the positive side, if the Heat lose, they can get a chance at that number 1 pick. And also, some Heat fans want the Heat to lose because they would be a first-round exit anyway, because they would face the Milwaukee Bucks, who are really good with Giannis and Chris Middleton. So that's that. Shout out to LeBron James. The Lakers had a big win against the Timberwolves last night, and the Grizzlies will now face the Lakers. So we'll see. The Lakers are the 7 seed, but you never know with LeBron. So I expect, that's my prediction. Expect the Lakers to beat the number 2 seeded Grizzlies in the first round. But yeah, that's really my NBA update. Hopefully the Heat can win on Friday night against DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls. As far as I'm concerned, the Heat will be fine. Jimmy Butler's a different breed in the playoffs, but I was concerned with the Heat's performance against the Hawks because I know it wasn't a do or die, but you win and you're in, and now you're risking it to your final game because if you lose, it won't be good.
So, Isaac, for a guy like me who tunes into the NBA right around this time of the year, right? It's just playoff time. Cliff note it for me. What am I looking at here? Because just in my quick glance, I see the Nets are actually still in the playoffs. And I thought Brooklyn blew everything up, right? Kyrie's gone, KD's gone, everybody's gone. So in the East, I know you mentioned Milwaukee. I'm outside of Philly, so I can't stop hearing about the 76ers. But outside of that, I mean, who are the heavyweights? Who are we looking at here?
Well, the Nets are, first of all, in the playoffs because when Kyrie was on the team this year, they were very talented. And when Kevin Durant was on the team this year, let's not forget about him, they were very talented. So they had a good record. They did take a fall off, a step back when those 2 players got traded, but their record was so good that they couldn't fall out of the playoffs. Now, that can't be an excuse. The Nets traded for Mikal Bridges as part of the Kevin Durant trade. Mikal Bridges proved how elite he is. What do I mean by that? He was stuck behind Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Now he's the number 1 player on the Nets, and we see how powerful and how good of a player he is because there's no competition. It's his team now. And I don't think he would ever expect, let alone the fans, to say Mikal Bridges is the star of her team. But he is. So the Nets have gotten a superstar, surprisingly. So I'm not saying the trade paid off because you got rid of Kevin Durant, but you did get an unexpected star in return. But in terms of star power, the Boston Celtics. I'm a Heat fan. I don't like the Celtics, but the Celtics will just always hang in there. It's any Boston team. But the Celtics are talented with Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown. The Celtics are just unstoppable. On the positive side, the Heat lost against the Hawks. So the Hawks play the Celtics, not the Heat. But you have to face the Bucks now. So I don't know. But the Celtics and Bucks are definitely the front runners in the East. In the West, though, I know the Suns aren't a top seed, but Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul, the Suns are going to be really scary. They won the NBA. They didn't win. The Bucks won, but they made the NBA Finals a few years ago, and no one expected it. This year, people are expecting it, so I think it could happen. But the one thing I will say, the Golden State Warriors are not as scary as they were last year, and their seat shows just that.
It looks wide open, a little more open. I mean, outside Denver looks pretty dominant in the West, right? And, from the East again, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly. Yeah. But this time of year is always fun because, like you said, you get guys like Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, and you even mentioned Jimmy Butler. When you get into a playoff series, guys can just step it up another level and really take a team on its back. So, that'd be interesting to see. Good. I feel a little more prepared.
Awesome. No, and let me prepare you even more. Donovan Mitchell's a star. I can't wait to see him in the Cavs. They have a tough first-round matchup. I expect us to go 6 or 7 games against the Knicks. It's a 4-versus-5 matchup, so expect it to be very close. Donovan Mitchell, we'll see what he could do for the Cavs. He scored 72 points in a game this year. So he's insane. We'll see how he is in the playoffs.
Excellent.
All right.
I'm looking forward to seeing Ronnie Cycli in the paint. It's about the last time I followed basketball.
But hey, one last thing before I jump off, because I do have to do homework. And this will be a good segue. How about them Rays?
Can't stop them. Let's go there. Isaac gave us the natural segue.
Yeah.
Let's go there. The Rays won 9-7 tonight, the most runs they've allowed in a game all season. This is with Todd Bradley, their number one prospect, making his major league debut in place of number 2 starter Zach Eflin, who's on the 15-day injured list. So the Rays already starting to have, Jose Siri is on the injured list as well. They're starting center fielder who was off to a white-hot start, both in the field and at the plate and on the bases. Really, was bringing it from all levels. He hopefully a minor injury. Zach Eflin, hopefully a minor injury. It was some low back tightness or something for Eflin. So the Rays already, are down 2 of their starters in the rotation. Doesn't seem to affect them at all. And those 2 guys are coming back relatively soon. Tyler Glasnow, arguably the most talented pitcher on the Rays staff, is out until some point in May. But the Rays it's just every aspect of this team. They I don't know where they stand. I know they're up to 30 home runs in 12 games, which it's a lot of home runs. After yesterday, they were tied for the most home runs through 11 games in Major League Baseball history. They only hit one tonight, a 3-run home run for Randy Arozarena. And if you look at this team's batting statistics, you've got Wander Franco and Brandon Lau, both with 4 home runs. Brandon Lau had done it in 4 straight games. He did just have a pinch hit at bat today, so he broke his 4-game home run streak. Randy Arozarena, Isaac Paredes, Yandy Diaz, Harold Ramirez, Luke Raley all have 3 home runs. Jose Siri, Josh Lowe, Manuel Margot have 2 home runs. Bethancourt also has a home run. There's a lot of different players who are contributing from a power perspective. And really, aside from kind of the catching position, although Bethancourt had, I think, 2 extra base hits today, maybe just 1. Aside from maybe the catching position, everyone top to bottom on this roster, when they're getting in, they're hitting. It
one defies explanation, man.
They're all clicking at the same time. You look at this roster and you think this guy has potential to do this, that, but them all doing it at the same time, the same year. And look, Wander Franco today, three doubles, another stolen base. Remember, this is 12 games, and you don't like to project, what these numbers turn into. But he's already got 11 extra base hits in 12 games, 7 doubles and 4 home runs. He's got 3 steals. His OPS right now is 1097, which is not nearly as good as Brandon Lau's 1218. Leading the way. It's just this team they're taking their walks, 41 walks through 11 games, and they took a bunch today. They're getting hit by a lot of pitches, not on purpose, but they're standing in there. They're just getting on base. They're getting clutch hits. They're hitting the ball out of the park. They've hit 3 grand slams already this year. It's beyond explanation. And then look, you've got a pitching staff. The next 2 starters, Jeffrey Springs tomorrow and Drew Rasmussen the next day, 13 innings each, 0 runs allowed, and not many base runners.
Dude, that's the other part of this, is not only are the Rays 4 games better than any team in baseball, right? At 12-0. The next best team, you're sitting at 8-4. Yep. Their run differential, Jeff, they're sitting at a plus 65 right now. The next closest team in baseball is the Milwaukee Brewers at plus 24. Oof. You're at a plus 65 in 12 games. You're not winning 1-run ball games. They're absolutely just taking teams to the woodshed. And you wonder, look, of course, like you said, you can't project it out. You and I touched on it a little bit, though. Getting a 4-game lead in any division this early, if you come out of the first month and you're halfway to a double-digit lead, in your division, then you just got to hold on the rest of the way, right? but you kind of hit on it. Glasnow's not even ready to go yet. I mean, you've still got some of the best pitchers. Taj, who's one of the top prospects in all of baseball, comes up, and he's only going to get better. I see it all the time. I'm a Dodger fan, so I see the guys come up from the farm. They have to get used to that big league, but give them a 3 or 4 starts, and you'll see them start setting in, right? So the staff's only going to get better. I guess the one thing that I would ask, and you watch all the Rays games, the one thing that couldn't have possibly been answered with this start is how's the bullpen?
They're coming into today. They were second in the American League in ERA. It was like 1.5, but that the team ERA. But they until Monday and today, they haven't really been tested in high leverage situations because they've just been blowing teams out in the 5th inning of every game.
Right.
So they did not get their first save until game 10. Pete Fairbanks came in on Monday when they hit a home run in the bottom of the 8th. Brandon Lau hit a home run and gave the Rays a 1-0 lead. So they did have a few high leverage innings in Monday's game, which was nice. They had to eat up. The Rays did an opener. Jalen Beeks pitched 2 innings. Josh Fleming somehow can't start games or he's terrible, but as a bulk innings guy, he came in 4 innings, just dazzling work.
The bullpen start.
And then they had to eat up 3 more shutout innings. And Pete Fairbanks is, I don't think he's given up a run since July of last year.
Is he technically the closer?
He's definitely the guy the Rays go to in the highest leverage situations. He got his second save today. Jason Adam pitched the 8th inning, a nice clean, 2 strikeout, no base runner 8th inning. Jason Adam had a career year last year and was on the USA World Baseball Classic roster. So they trust those 2 guys a lot. Colin Poche gave up a 3-run home run to Devers in the 7th, if I'm remembering the innings correctly. This season, just everything blends together. 3 runs in the 7th on a home run. Really, I thought it was off the bat. I thought it was a foul ball that wasn't going to get close to getting out of the park. It had some crazy carry on it to the opposite field and just made it over the wall. But that was his biggest failure of the season. But, they're solid. They look solid. Today was their roughest game. And again, it's the most runs they've allowed. Boston was putting up a lot of runs, before they ran into the Rays, and then 0-2, and now today they get 7. So, at this point too, it's not like, well, they're playing a bunch of bad teams. They're not. I mean, every team they've played is 0-3 against the Rays so far, so that doesn't help their record. Yeah. But these are major league teams, and the Rays are not making it look. The funny thing with baseball, I've said this to a few people, is you take one of the greatest Major League Baseball rosters and throw them in AAA, I don't even know that I'd take a bet that they'd win all 12 games in AAA. There's the fluke that one day the AAA pitcher just is really good, and you just can't get to them. It's hard to win this many games, and they're doing it mostly seemingly with ease. I mean, they are making every game, they're making 2-3 dazzling defensive plays. Their pitching, again, aside from today, has been damn near unhittable. And their offense, I mean, aside from the 1-0 game, they've been lighting up the scoreboard. It's a team that, the lineup's going to slump, the pitching's going to slump, the fielding usually doesn't slump, but maybe it does for a short amount of time. But they can win in so many different ways. I just don't see any way this team goes into a long slump, an extended slump. The Blue Jays and Yankees off to 8-4 starts have to feel good about themselves, but they're still 4 games out of first place already, 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, the beautiful thing with baseball, again, is you can't put this many wins together. Hell, if you're a high school team, even if you're not doing things right on multiple levels. And you mentioned it just in your rundown, right? I mean, you've got all the guys who have home runs, but you're listing off 6-7 guys on there with multiple home runs. When you've got a plus 65 differential, right? You're doing this not just by one guy carrying it, one guy with the bat. You're also getting on base, drawing walks, going deep into counts. I'm sure base running is the same thing you mentioned with stolen bases. It really is like they're playing all facets of this game really, really well together right now. And from what I understand, they're probably a relatively young team. They've got a lot of energy and a lot of guys who play with enthusiasm that we saw in the World Baseball Classic, as well as, and that just bleeds, So I'm definitely paying a closer eye toward the Rays to see how this goes, because this is one of the hottest starts I can remember to the beginning of the season for any Major League Baseball team.
Yeah, well, if they win tomorrow, they have a day game against Boston to close out that 4-game series. They tie the Major League record for most wins in the modern era to start a season, which is 13, done by the Brewers and Braves before I was born.
Okay.
So they're getting close. And yeah, the next 2 games, they're Jeffrey Springs and Drew Rasmussen combined 26 innings without allowing a run so far in 2023.
Well, look, I've told you just my little foray into the Tampa Bay Rays, right? I have a Rosarino on my fantasy team, which has just been glorious. And I've had Rasmussen. I'm not trying to jinx your Rays, but every pitcher on my roster has been getting lit up this week. I mean, every one of them. So, let's hope Rasmussen breaks that trend for my team and for the Rays, because good Lord, my ERA is ballooned, brother. It's bad.
He'll be the stopper even in your fantasy.
That's what I need.
It's something else, and they are. If you haven't watched them, you mentioned the swagger, and that's something worth mentioning too. I don't. Obviously, it's a lot easier to have fun when you're winning, but I don't remember any team seeming to have as much fun and visibly having fun than this Rays team. And it's been that way since opening day. They just are, it's fun to watch a team that has fun. And really, they are the kind of team that they do everything that's exciting. They have a lot of speed guys running the bases. They haven't collected as many steals as they would have otherwise, because they're usually blowing teams out too much that you can't steal bases when you're up by 8 runs. It's kind of bad forms.
Look, the Rays, I was having this discussion today with my kids' little league team at practice, right? Baseball is a beautiful game when you understand and know what you're doing. And to see grown men truly appreciate that for the game that it is, there is something still very, very pure to that. Way more, and we all know I love my NFL, but if it comes down to what sport or game that I love, it's 100% baseball. It's just that realizing what a great game this is and how many parts have to come together to play well. I see a shout out dropping in there from the Philly boy screaming about Franco.
Yeah, it's April. Yeah, that's what somebody whose team is off to a 4-8 start says, not a 12-0 start. Get out of here with that shit.
Go back. By the way, it's Steve's team who's kicking the shit out of me in fantasy this week, by the way.
Oh, the Phillies are actually scoring runs this week? Good for them.
He doesn't have Phillies.
Yeah, the Rays, best team in baseball, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So
let's get
we'll probably talk about them a lot.
Right. Florida's next favorite sport. Apparently, the NHL lives in Florida, Jeff. Like, take it away, buddy. The Panthers on the NBA do the same.
Yeah, the Florida Panthers have clinched one of the wild card spots. I kind of wrote them off earlier this season. They've had a nice run here in the second half of the season. If they win tomorrow, they jump. The Islanders just won before we went on air. So the Islanders have clinched. Right now, they're 1 point ahead of the Panthers. The Panthers win tomorrow. They jump back into the first wild card spot, which means they would play the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round instead of the Boston Bruins, who far and away had most points in the Eastern Conference. I think we talked to Isaac before the show. He wants to win, so they play Carolina and not Boston. And so kind of a big deal. The funny part is they do play Carolina tomorrow. So depending on if Carolina would prefer to play Florida than the Islanders, they might let Florida win. I mean, that interesting kind of gamesmanship we could see there, depending on if Carolina has a preference on which team they play. And of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning clinched the playoffs already. They, for the second straight year, are starting against Toronto. Last season, they were down 3-2 in that series. It went out to 7 games. The Lightning obviously won in the first round before they went on to sweep the Panthers and beat the Rangers and lose in 6 in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, you got 2 teams in the East. If potentially, I'm not going to say that this is likely because I don't think if Florida goes up against Boston, they're going to win. Potentially, they could face each other a third straight time if the Panthers beat Boston, and of course the Lightning beat the Maple Leafs. The Lightning have slumped since they clinched the playoffs. I think they're just kind of taking their foot off the gas because they played really well the few games before they clinched the playoffs. But yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. I know the Lightning, just like they were last year, are not going to be favored by the media at all. They're always going to be on. This year, they're going to be on Boston, of course. They're going to be on New York because any New York team that makes it. They're going to be on Toronto. Those will probably be the 3 Eastern Conference teams. But I'll say that nobody's defeated the Lightning in the Eastern Conference playoffs since John Tortorella's led Columbus Blue Jackets, I guess 4 years ago. So I'm not betting against the Lightning. I'm just saying they've got the best goaltender in the world. They've got just top to bottom a talented roster. We'll see. I'm a little concerned on the defense. That seems to be the area that's the area that concerns me the most going in. But look, the Lightning have been there so many times. Again, 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals they've been to. They won the first 2. I don't need to spend a lot of time because we don't have any Florida teams in the Western Conference. But Colorado, who won the Stanley Cup last year, is the 1 seed over there. So it's kind of the team I would suspect that comes through. Vegas is the other 1 seed in their part of the bracket. I could see them meeting up in the Western Conference Finals very easily. But yeah, look, the Lightning, to get to another Stanley Cup, are going to have to get through Toronto and probably Boston, 2 teams that they don't like. Yeah, it'll be a tough road to get there a third time. And then, of course, they'll have to get through the Hurricanes, the Devils, the Rangers, the Islanders, one of those teams in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah, it could be a rocky road, but I guess, you could say that every year in the NHL playoffs. It's so hard to win.
I'll tell you what's really odd for me, again, fringe NHL fan, but it seems like for as long as I can remember, this time of year, at least in my particular neck of the woods, between the Capitals, the Penguins, the Flyers, right? They're not used to all of those teams sitting at home during the NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe I'm not paying that great of attention, but I can't remember years with no Capitals, no Penguins, no Flyers.
I think someone needs to drug test Steve here. Panthers will go further than the Lightning. No, Steve. I'll make a bet on that. I'm not even 100% that the Lightning are going to advance past the first round, but I would bet that the Panthers would not.
Hang on now. I still need to get back on my Super Bowl props bet, right? Where I had to put through a punishment on this thing. Maybe I can jump on Steve's action here and take the Panthers to go further than the Lightning. I know nothing of this, but do I really want to
get punished again? Is that what you're saying? I'll let you think it over. Let me think that one over.
The
playoff start.
Yeah, we'll have to put some
I
thought
wouldn't
into that one.
advise it, but I would certainly accept that bet.
All right,
But
Steve,
look,
you and I
we've
got to
got.
follow
I
up on
mean,
this, buddy.
I don't know how long there's going to be a Florida team in the NBA playoffs, of course, and really we don't know that an NHL team. So, but if they do, you'll see all about it here. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. I do. Last year, I started only in the Eastern Conference Finals doing post-game reaction video after the playoff games. I wish I had done it the whole playoffs. Would have been so much more fun to get to taunt the Toronto fans. The Rangers fans were such dicks, and it was so tasty when I went back and read their comments. Oh, New York Rangers.
So wait, Jeff, do you let the playoff beard grow? Do you go without shaving during the playoffs?
Oh, dang it.
Oh,
yeah, I
there
mean,
it goes.
Maybe I'll shave tomorrow so I can, just trim it down. But yeah, typically I try not to. I don't think I have the last 3 years shaved at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the acting thing, if I got an opportunity, I might, I might need to take a razor, but otherwise I'm not going to. Yeah, that's a legit point. I need to put a Post-it note on my mirror that says, do not shave. Just hide my razors.
Look, I've already said, with the beard in the middle, this is going until the Dolphins win a playoff game. So I could be Rip Van Winkle in a couple of years, my friend. The big part of the beard is staying until somebody in that Dolphins organization finds a way to win a playoff game.
Yeah, well, good luck with if Aaron Rodgers ever does get traded to the Jets, and obviously you've got the Bills. Good luck with that. All right. Well, let's wrap this sucker. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. You follow on all the social medias. Check out the Dads and Drinks show. New episode drops tomorrow. I promise I'm going to have it edited and ready to go. In some way, shape, or form, it'll be up by tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Jeremiah hopefully will be there in the comments. I will be almost certainly, unless something bad happens. So you better.
I'll be hanging out tomorrow.
See me live in the comments.
Yep, I'll be there to live tomorrow. No kids, so I'll be tuned in.
Oh yeah, tuned in and tuned up.
Look, you have Drunk Jeff Eats. We need to get videos of Sober Jeff Edits.
Oh yeah. It's a really boring show. It's just me sitting, clicking a mouse.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you were probably pretty entertained last week if you went back and watched that one before it went to air. Because I don't think you remembered a piece of what we recorded.
I did not edit a thing. I asked you because I thought you were a little more sober than me when we recorded. And I watched it live on Thursday night, and it was like the first time I watched it. I did get the title for the episode by watching like the first 2 minutes just to make sure the audio was good. And everything else that was said in that episode after that was brand new to me. It was something else.
That's good times.
Yeah.
This week's episode, Florida Man. Speaking of our Florida times, Florida Man.
Yes, and sneak preview on the channel we recommend you subscribe to. You're watching it right now.
100%.
So, yes, hit us up. Let us know how stupid we are. Except you, Steve.
He reminds me daily.
Come on, man. All right. For Jeremiah Hensley, I am Jeff Macolino. We will see you here on FL Teams Live next week. Peace.